Hello, everybody. I'm Caroline, and I'm here with your 2022 predictions for the sign of Virgo. Before I start, I would like to just say a few things that are very important. So, first thing is when you really want to make a prediction and you really want to know what is going on in your life and what's really going to take place in your life, you need to look at the ascendant sign because the ascendant sign, the houses, they rule concrete things in your life. With the sun and moon, you still might get you might get some insights and everything, but really what's happening concretely in your life, it's really seen through the ascendant sign. So I highly recommend that if you're a Virgo ascendant to really watch this video, to really watch the predictions for your ascendant sign. That you can watch all of them if you want, of course, but really you get most benefit from actually concrete benefits from watching your ascendant sign. So also I would like to leave it very clear that not every Virgo ascendant will go through the things that I will mention here, because it really depends on the individual's chart. Of course, not every Virgo ascendant is going to get married 2022, although a lot will. So it really depends on your specific chart and what you're going through, because let's say the astrology is nothing more than your birth plan. It's pretty much your birth plan. So some people have that everybody's going to go through a Jupiter transiting in the seventh house, but some people, they came here for different things. They came here to learn, they have that for whatever reason. Their soul decided that it would be alone for their entire life, so it won't apply for them, but it will apply in a different way. So Jupiter in the seventh house for these people, connecting with friends, having great friendships, because seventh house is other. So you get the point, basically. So it really depends. I will make general predictions, but it highly depends on your individual chart. So we start the year of 2022 with a very benefic planet, and it was specifically for Virgos, and Venus is very benefic because Venus rules the second and ninth house. Second house deals with your money, your values, and your assets, your worldly responsibilities, even. And the ninth house deals with your luck, your fortune, Venus is a teacher, then the ninth house is teaching. So actually, if you have Venus as a career planet, as a Virgo ascendant, you might have an inclination to teaching. But anyway, that's a different topic. But so you will start the year with a lot of Venusian themes, because whenever a planet is retrograde, the themes of the planet tend to be very, very strong. And the whole Venus retrograde cycle will be from November 17th, around 11 degrees Capricorn, and it will end March 1st, 2022. So Venus going retrograde around this time, but this whole time will be in the fifth house. And two things that the Venus and the fifth house have in common is creativity. Venus is a very fertile planet. The fifth house is the house of creation, right? It's the house of children, of birthing something into the world. So this can be a very fruitful time to have children, for example, to get pregnant if that's what you want. Although Capricorn is not a very fertile sign, it's still it can help with fertility and help with these types of things. It can also be, of course, like I was saying, creativity. You're more fertile with ideas, so you have a lot of ideas when it comes to your, anything that you do in life. If you are a writer, if you were any type of profession, even a doctor, anything that you might actually, just see. And it doesn't matter what you do in life. Basically, with this transit, you will feel more creative. You will have more of that livelihood and lively energy. So, and also the fifth house is the house of It's a house that you take risks. The fifth house is Leo. It's the typical typically connected to the fifth. It's the fifth sign, so it's connected to the fifth house. It's a courageous sign, and also fifth house is third from the third. So this can show, I wouldn't actually make any decisions, financial decisions, between December 19th until January 29th. I wouldn't take decisions basically around this time. But after this time, it is a great time to actually do some risky investments, because, like I was saying, third from the third it's third house is courage, third from the third is courage as well. So, and also the fifth house is connected to Leo. Leo is a very courageous sign, so it's a house of investments, of like taking risks, actually taking risks. Capricorn deals with finances. Venus rules the second house of finances, so it can be a time of learning and getting introspective when it comes to really knowing the value of things, really knowing the value of money, really learning about economics and about not everything economical, but the Venus it has a lot to do with economy, actually. So just learning about what kinds of investments can you do, how can you multiply your wealth, and you might with what kind of investment can I, because it's always a risk. Starting a business is always a risk. Investing is always a risk. So this time is a good time, especially when Venus is retrograde, to really learn about the types of investments that you can make, about the risks, about everything. And then once Venus goes direct in January, from January 22 for January 29th, then you can actually go ahead and make the decisions from what you learned when Venus was retrograde. This same principle applies to romance, because fifth house is the house of romance and the house of falling in love, basically. So it's really when Venus is retrograde, I wouldn't tell anybody to just break up to make a decision around this time. Venus is decisions. Venus is a planet that rules decisions, and specifically decisions that lead to a higher fulfillment. So to get to a point where you really feel fulfilled with your decision, I would just get really introspective from this time, from December 19th to January 29th. Just get really introspective, just really rethink things. And then once Venus moves direct, then you make a decision if you want to keep a love interest, because a lot of the ninth house, one of the considerations is that Venus rules the ninth house, and it's in the fifth. So you might, there's one question that you might ask: does this person really fit into the bigger picture of my life? Is this just, can I take this more seriously? Right? Capricorn is a very serious sign, so can I take this more seriously? You might be falling, deeper in love, but then you're also learning a lot of Venusian, themes. Does this person, are they good for my self-esteem? The fifth house of self-esteem. Are they good for my self-worth? So these are themes that can be going on around this time, and also mentioning self-esteem. The fifth house has a lot to do with self-confidence, self-esteem. So it's a time that you might improve your self-worth and your self-esteem. And it's a time also that there is a very interesting there's a very interesting quote that kind of ties into the meaning of the fifth house very well, because the fifth house rules creativity, right? But the fifth house is also known to be a very intelligent. It's a house of intelligence, actually, because the sun is considered to be intelligent in Vedic astrology. The sun rules the fifth house, and the fifth house is known as a house of intelligence. So And it's interesting because Albert Einstein once said that intelligence is creativity is intelligence having fun. So it's actually a time that you Virgo ascendants, which Virgos can be very intellectual and very all that kind of stuff. Um, so a lot of Virgos, even Sun, Moon, anybody, Virgos might feel more intelligent around this time, especially when it comes to especially when it comes to seeing if a romantic interest is good or not, or investments, specifically investments as well. If should I keep this? Should I not? Should I invest in this? You might actually learn a lot about the value, and by the end of this whole period, you might actually come up with a great way to multiply your money if that's something that you're interested in, or you just might make smarter financial decisions and smarter even romantic decisions. And it's asked of you. If you don't do that, if, for example, in terms of romantic relationships, it would be nice if you actually used your intelligence to see, does this really work? Does it make sense? Capricorn is also a very down to earth sign, and Saturn is a very realistic planet. So does it really make sense to keep, you might because Venus is going to be retrograde, and might fall really deep in love with somebody, but it's required to keep the feet on the ground. Does this really make sense? Is this really what I want? Does this really fit into the bigger picture? If it does, then continue. Great. Jupiter will be in the seventh house, making relationships great, then awesome. But if not, it's a good time to say goodbye. So with Venus retrograde in the fifth, it's in regards to romantic partnership, romantic interests, and not really partnerships, but romantic interests, children, your children, anything, investments, anything. Does it really make sense in the long term? Capricorn is a long term sign. Does it really make sense when it comes to my life purpose? Like, does it help in my life purpose overall? Does it also, you might, with the ninth lord being in the fifth house and going retrograde there, you might find your life purpose by being creative, by doing something that you love, doing a hobby, doing something that you're passionate about, a hobby that you might find some of your life purpose there. Life purpose doesn't have to be one big thing, by the way. It can be just a small thing, just can be, it's all about in the end of the day, spirituality is a lot about it's a lot about, it's not as big as we think. It's not like, insanely big. It just can be a small, thing. Like, for example, what can be a small thing that could be a life purpose? Treat people nicer. That could be one. Do you want in this life, you want to, it can be so many things, really. It doesn't have to just become the next CEO and invent the flying space cars, and this is what I mean. It doesn't have to be something big. Life purpose doesn't have to be something big. So you might find part of your life purpose in doing creative things and doing your hobbies and doing these types of things. So there's that connection with the fifth house, with risks, with the creativity, with children, with playing or just having fun and finding your life purpose there. And also, it's a great time to start the year and to finish one year and to start the year with a planet that rules worldly enjoyments. Venus rules worldly enjoyments in the fifth house of fun, of partying and having fun. And it's if 2020 ended bad, and 2021, 2022 might be much better New Year's Eve than before, because Venus is enjoyment in the fifth house of pleasures and all these types of things. That's one thing they have in common. So that's a good time to celebrate and all these types of things. But really, just pay attention. What are your values? What do you value? What you know does this romantic thing, can it lead to something more serious? Can this be fruitful in the long term? Does it make sense? And really apply rationality, and really apply rationality, and down to earth. It be very down to earth when it comes to assessing these things. And retrograde, Venus in retrograde also can bring memories of former romantic partners and these types of things. So it's something that you might be reevaluating around this time as well, if it's something that is useful to you, if it's something that is, it still needs closure, it still needs something that it's still relevant to you somehow. So it might bring to the surface these things. And Venus will be conjunct Pluto a few times. So yeah, for some people, they will be falling in love hard, because that's the fifth house is the house of falling in love. Some people might be really, personally, as a Virgo ascendant myself, I'm just going crazy about investing in NFTs and cryptocurrencies. And it's a time that you can really see the value of things, cut through the bullshit with Pluto. That's one thing. And for some people, they might be bonding better with their children. They might be more fertile, so they might get pregnant. They might they might just just be spending more time with their kids and having a lot of fun in that. It's a time that, like I said already, that you might be very be feeling more intelligent and more self-confident, and improving your self-confidence and doing all these things. So if you don't, as a Virgo ascendant, if you don't feel very confident, I highly recommend that you take this time to work on it. That's the time. That's the time. That's the time that the universe. It's always better in life if we follow, what the energies and what is being asked of us to do. So then another big change is Jupiter will move into the sign of Pisces December 28th, and it will go there, and it will stay there till May 10th, 2022. Jupiter is very dignified in Pisces. Jupiter is at its own home in Pisces. And one interesting thing that I like to think of is that a big lesson with Jupiter in the sixth house is you don't need to wait for anything, because Jupiter is the planet of happiness. So, and the sixth house is the house of the everyday, the mundane, just the everyday life. It's just mundane job, just do a job for somebody else and all these things. Jupiter is the planet of happiness. A lot of people see it as a clash, which can be, but Jupiter in the sixth can really teach you the lesson that you don't need to wait to be happy, to feel a connection to the divine, because Jupiter is your connection to the divine. So it can be through religion, actual religion. So Jupiter has a lot to do with religion, or it can be through spirituality. Anyway, Jupiter is your connection to the divine. It's your belief system when it comes your beliefs, especially when it comes to divinity, to why we are here. Jupiter is the why. Why are we here? And when you feel like there's a quote, the human soul can tolerate anything except for the lack of a reason to live. So humans need a reason to be here sometimes. Especially when things hard. That's when Jupiter comes in. It's like it gives you the why, basically. So the thing is, Jupiter being in the sixth house, it teaches you that you can be happy every day, that you can be connected to the divine every single day. The sixth house is the mundane, everyday thing. It rules that. So you can be connected, every day. You can be joyful every day. You can, for example, drinking a cup of coffee and, seeing a nice view, or just being in your house, and let's say you love being in your house and everything is fine. Like, you don't have anything big going on, but, you're just satisfied. You're just happy, honestly. And a lot of people sometimes they feel like, oh, you should be happy. You shouldn't be happy because you don't have this or don't have it. that's bullshit. You can be happy anytime, every day. Of course, emotions, they are a way to signal, they are a signal, they are a way to tell you that, hey, something is off, here, you need to change this. And you need to become aware. You need to become aware of the things that are going on. If you feel bad, you need to become aware and you need to deal. But once you're in the process of recognizing it and doing the things that you need to do to, feel better, once you're in that process, you don't have to delay or how, oh, I know that I need to, you kind of feel like crap, and then you know that this, you need something to fix in your life, and then you feel more at peace. But then that's going to take some time. You don't have to delay your happiness. You can, oh, okay, I get it. That's not right. So you can, point being is you can be happy now. You don't have to wait for the seventh, the cardinal houses are typically the causes to be happy. So the first house is your body. The fourth house is your house, is having a house. It's even the house of luxuries, actually. The Venus gains direction of strength in the fourth house. So it's a house of luxury, the comforts even. It's one of the houses of fortune as well. The seventh house is a house of partners and partnerships and people. The 10th house is the house of your career, fame, recognitions, all that kind of stuff. So all the angular houses, they rule these really the causes to be happy, basically. So usually when you have something going on in these houses, you have some causes to be happy. With with houses like third and the sixth, the houses that precede the angular houses, these houses, they don't exactly give you reasons to be happy, but when Jupiter is there, you see that really sometimes you really don't need that. You don't need to wait for a big moment. You don't need to wait for these big societal things that everybody expects to be happy. You can just be happy in the moment. That's the point. So that's what we learned from Jupiter in the sixth. Now Jupiter is going to the seventh house. Seventh house is the house of partnerships, is the house of the other. So with Jupiter going to the seventh house, that shows that you will find your divine inspiration, divine connection, especially connection, because Pisces is a water sign. So you will find your joy. You'll find your inner light. You'll connect more with your inner light. That's Jupiter. And you will find, a lot of blessings when it comes to a lot of wisdom and a lot of spiritual growth as well when it comes to dealing with other people. Seventh house is the house of other people, of course. Other people, friends, anybody that is not you, basically, is the seventh house. It can be you can get a little bit more specific with the ninth house being your grandchildren, your fifth house being your children, your seventh house being your mirror, your biggest mirror, which is your spouse. That's what, relationships, especially romantic partnerships, are. They're mirrors, typically. And the fourth house is the mom, the 10th is the dad. So everybody, but typically the seventh house can be also everybody that's not you as well. So anybody. So you can find a lot of wisdom and joy and spiritual growth through connecting with others. You will understand that one of the biggest treasures in life is actually other people. Is actually even in your career, even people who help you in your career. They can be one of the biggest assets. Nobody, people say, oh, self-made millionaire, self-made whatever, but nobody's truly self-made. We always need people. So that's one of the wisdoms of Jupiter in the seventh house, is the people were one of your biggest, especially being Pisces, water sign, connecting and all that. People are your biggest, one of your, it will be very clear to you that people are one of the biggest treasures that you have in your life. So, but seventh house is specifically romantic partnerships and your actual spouse. And Jupiter is the husband for a woman in a woman's chart. So a lot of women with Virgo ascendant, or a lot of people who are interested in men, for heterosexual women and people who are interested in men, I'll just leave it at that. They can actually meet a significant other. That's very likely that they will meet, because Jupiter will be dignified in its own sign. So Jupiter will have the power to manifest it. And this absolutely can be a great time to really meet somebody, and to really if you that's if you don't have anybody. But if you already have been married for 10 years, this is a time to really find out why you are with this person, right? Because that's the Jupiter is the why planet, so the gives you the reasons to explain, and so why are you with this person? Is it helping your spiritual growth? Because it's funny, because you might say, oh, but I got divorced when Jupiter was in Pisces in my seventh house. But Jupiter shows you, is it really in your best interest? Is it really? It's not all roses too with Jupiter, because if something is not working for your soul growth and your development, it will, why? But if Jupiter separates, if it does, it's usually for a very good cause. It's not really not in your highest. You actually feel good making that decision. It won't be one of those terrible, disastrous separations. It might be a very a very good one. A very amicable one. A very where two people are very connected to. I mean, very connected to the inner truth. So they know that's the best decision, and they're very wise and mature about it. That's the kind of separation that Jupiter can give. But yeah, so Jupiter can really heal your relationships, and really heal your one-to-one partnerships, heal your relationships with business partner. And the reason I say heal as well, because Jupiter will be in the nakshatra of that has a lot to do with healing as well. So, and also Jupiter will be conjunct Neptune quite a few times. They'll go back and forth quite a few times, and that really can give the soulmate feeling, kind of, because Neptune is the soulmate, like, kind of very spiritualized planet, very spiritualized symbol. So it really can show having the deep connection with somebody, meeting somebody like that, or having that in your relationships if you already have one. That's a possibility. And seventh house is also the house of other countries, because you were born, right? Your ascendant is based on the location and time you were born. So where you were born is like the first house, right? The whole environment you were born in, right? And then the seventh house is the total opposite of that, which is the house of other countries. So very fruitful time from December 28th till May 10th, and then from October to December 20th to travel, to really go and expand your horizons. North Node will also be there. I'll speak about that later, but North Node will also be there. So great time to expand your mind and to really go to other countries, to go around and travel. It's a favorable time for that, and it will also overall be a very good year, because Jupiter aspects all the other angles, right? Your first house, your 10th house, your fourth house. So really, it's a very beneficial transit to have. It's typically it kind of Jupiter is like the divine help, the divine protection, and you have all of this and opportunities and blessings and luck. So affecting these pillars, the angles are the pillars, so affecting all these areas, and it can be actually a very fruitful time, a very positive time for Virgo ascendants. But again, specifically when it comes to partnerships and and romantic, not just romantic, but all kinds of partnerships. And of course, if you've been looking for a romantic partner, that's a year that you might be somebody that you're even spiritually connected to, and whether they stay or not, it's all for your spiritual higher growth, and that's something to keep in mind with Jupiter. That is something that divinely inspired. You still have free will, though. That's what I always like to say. You still have choice. So I mean, you also, just mind that your decisions matter, and the things that you think every day, and all these types of things, they do matter. So as well. So anyway, so just in case somebody meets and then they keep being terrible, and you have the free will to act terrible if you want. You have that, but you mean. So just to remind that your action, the starts point, but they don't determine what you're going to do with their free will. That's the point. But anyway, so Jupiter will be in Aries from May 10th to October 28th, and when Jupiter is in Aries, uh, the eighth house is the house of deep depth psychology. It's the house of psychology. It's the house of what you repress from yourself and others, deep buried desires, memories, traumas, any type of things that you hide from yourself and other people is seen through the eighth house. And also, the one big difference from the eighth house to the 12th house is that the eighth house is what we hide from ourselves and others, and the 12th house is what is hidden from us. So it's the big veil, the forgetfulness, the forgetful, the all these type of, not, basically the spiritual veil that we all have. That's the 12th house. The eighth house is the stuff that we hide from ourselves and others, and this house can be very interesting. It can be, but when Jupiter goes there, it can be a great time to really, really, because Jupiter is kind of like, it kind of has a little bit of its own light. Actually, it's so Jupiter, it brings that to be healed, to be improved, to be worked on. So, for example, if through this, after this transit of Jupiter in Pisces, for example, you never attracted a partner and you don't know why, you can use this time to really find out what subconscious blocks, what you have in yourself that blocks from this type of thing. If you never achieved all the things that you wanted to, and you feel like you're struggling still, even with the transit of Jupiter, aspecting your 10th house and everything, why do you still have financial blocks? With the Jupiter in Aries in the 8th house, you might you really uncover that stuff in your subconscious. Why do you have it? What part of you are, is trying to protect the things that having these things is not good for you? Which deep buried belief system you have within, you have that makes your life the way it is if you're unsatisfied with something. Or maybe you have anxiety, you have massive anxiety, or any mental problem. You can find out when Jupiter is in the 8th, you can find out what is this deep reason why you have these things. Can make Jupiter in the 8th can also be very good for psychic abilities, to be a little bit more intuitive. The 8th house is an intuitive house. It has a lot to do with astrology and all these tarot cards and all these types of things. Because one interesting thing is that because the 8th and 12th, they have that. But you can find out in the 8th house, it's typically stuff that your subconscious is telling you, because the subconscious, it doesn't have a sense of time, right? So it can tell. It's a fruitful time to access your subconscious, and one way to access your subconscious mind is through tarot cards and all these types of things. So it's a fruitful time for people who are interested to get readings, to actually benefit from them, to actually get, somebody who actually, knows what they're doing. Can be a great, Jupiter is the counselor, is the Brahmin, like Venus. Both Venus and Jupiter are the counselors. So you can find a counselor who can help you with knowing about a little bit more about yourself and your self knowledge. The eighth house is very, it can be a self knowledge house, because you're trying to even know the stuff you even repress from yourself, because sometimes you can get so buried to that point. So that's it. Eighth house is also the house of the seventh house is the house of sex, right? The eighth house is the house of bonding through sexuality. So the emotional side of the sexuality. So seventh being sex, and eighth house is the emotional side of it. So it can really improve the sexuality and all these types of things. You can heal your sexuality. You can express your sexuality way more, especially Aries being a very, sexual sign and very expressive. You can really get that out in you, and you might feel even more. Jupiter is a very fertile, fertile planet. It rules Pisces, fertile sign. It's the planet of children, so it can make you a lot more, fertile, and have more desire in that sense, and a lot of your suppressed urges and desires can, come out as well. That's one interpretation with Jupiter in Aries. So that's the eighth house. You can't pass the eighth house without talking about that. Anyway, so yeah, so and then another big shift that will be going on is the North Node will enter Taurus, which is Virgo's ninth house, and it's a big shift when the nodes move to a different time, because the nodes, they are they are pretty much, they are very faded. These are very faded points. And with a North Node going to Taurus, and the South Node being in Scorpio, is one big thing that everybody's going to be going through with this, is Taurus. You can balance the spiritual with the material. And in order to really take advantage of the spiritual world, you need to have your responsibilities and your material side taken care of. So it's a lot of people have this misconception that you need to, that the best way to develop spiritually is to just lock yourself in a room, or you go to the Himalayas and meditate all day, and just ignore life, and not having any material desires, and not having, because having money is bad, and you need to be with the North Node in Taurus, and South Node in Scorpio. It really shows that no, actually, you can develop a lot spiritually by having a material life, by having a worldly life, which is Venus, right? Venus is the worldly planet, the worldly enjoyments, the worldly responsibilities, its finances, and everything. So you can actually get a lot more from spirituality by being in the world. You can learn the goal. I saw a quote once that I really loved. The goal of the goal of spirituality is not take you away from the world, but help you live deeper. Dive you deeper into it, because and it's a very nice. It's a very Taurus, Taurus North Node, South Node, and Scorpio, that quote, because yes, you will be living your, you will develop more spiritually by focusing on your material responsibilities, and and taking care of your, Taurus is like the second house, which is the food you eat. So how you're gonna meditate all day and have all this stuff. Of course, I mean, fasting is great, it's helpful, but I mean, you still need to take care of your material life in order to sit back and be able to. You have to be nourished probably to have great fasting, to even have benefits of fasting, unless you're some like insanely, I don't know. Some people say that they can stay without eating forever. Great. I mean, if that's your case, I mean, if you're that spiritually developed, great. But most people have to, and also for the people in general, it's just you can find. I mean, you can still have your worldly desires and take care of your emotional health as well. The Scorpio is an emotional sign, so in order to create a better emotional life for yourself this time around, you might need to focus on the material things. So that's the basic, that's the thing. And the north node for Virgo Taurus, for a Virgo ascendant, is the house of higher learning, of travel, expanding your horizons. And every time you travel, you do really expand your horizons. You do really. So it's a advantage. It's very good for Virgos if you want to. Virgo is a mutable sign, so a lot of Virgos might like to travel. If you don't, anyway, just it's a great time to expand your consciousness anyway by taking maybe a course, by having a higher learning. Ninth house is the house of fortune. I think I already said that, but it's the house of fortune and luck, and things coming together. So with the north node there, you might feel lucky, you might feel more lucky, you might because you might discover your life purpose. You might start going more towards the direction of what you came to this earth to do. What is your dharma, your spiritual duty that dharma, according to the Hinduism, is like your duty, your mission here. So, and that's what the ninth house is. What is your mission? What you came here to do? So this, you might be compelled, and you might be, the universe, especially around the eclipses, if you're not following your purposes, and you haven't, there will be eclipses in your ninth house. And it's with Uranus. It will bring you. It doesn't matter. It will bring you to your life purpose. That's the thing of the ninth house. It will bring you to what you're meant to do here in this world. Are you meant to be a teacher? Are you meant to teach for a certain amount of years and you're not doing that? You might have gotten away with not following your purpose all these years, but with North Node in your ninth house, you will most likely be called to do it. You'll be called to do the things that make you actually fulfill your life purpose. Also, the ninth house has a lot to do with the legalities. So legalities might might be very important, might be resolved. Ninth house is the house of the father, so you might be spending, and the ninth, and Venus also rules the father in Gemini, so the father might be of significance for Virgo ascendants this year, and especially father teachings. That's the ninth house. And yes, and following what you're inspired to do. If you're inspired to learn something, to go back to school, finishing an education, finishing a degree, that's a time for that. And what else is the ninth house? It's a very fortunate and happy and inspiring house. It's the fifth from the fifth. You can also have a publishing. It's a publishing. Any writers, it's fifth from the fifth, and fifth has to do with creative writing and everything. So it's a time that you can publish, and you can actually be very fortunate when it comes to publishing, or just really, if you whatever, for example, if your destiny is to be a writer and you're not a writer, during this time you might discover that, and you might actually put that to work, and you might actually publish something which might lead you to closer to your purpose in life. And the ninth house is connected to philosophies, to you belief system. You might change your belief system. You might have a different belief system by the end of this transit, or maybe the same belief system with a different, more sophisticated perspective. And yes, it's the house of religion. Some Virgos will totally change their religions and belief systems, and perhaps because of a travel, perhaps because of, anything. But anyway, you're spending the constant, or just, just finding something that actually is more in alignment with their soul and who they are and what they came here to do, and all of that. So, and with the South Node in the third house, it's third house can rule businesses. It can rules ways to make money. Is the second from the second that don't serve you, that don't really incorporate your, your true purpose somehow. And with the North Node being Taurus and also having to take care of her responsibilities, some of the things that you might have been doing in a business sense, for example, or as they might not fit into the bigger picture, so you might be letting go of them. You might also be letting go of former co-workers, or making less, just less short-term travels and more traveling more abroad instead of just traveling around and all these types of things. So what another important point to note that any 2022 will end is that 2022 will end with Mars retrograde in Gemini. And Gemini is the 10th house for Virgo ascendant. So that means that there might be problems to fix in the workplace. And you might be feeling as well, because Mars, every time a planet goes retrograde, it's like the themes of the planet, they really come out. They really stand out, and they really are brought to your face. So you can really learn. So let's say if you, for a Virgo ascendant that doesn't speak, that doesn't know how to stand up for themselves, this time of Mars retrograde, they will probably have an issue at work with the boss, with an authority figure the universe will make them stand up for themselves, or it's the kind of swim or sink type of thing. You have to swim. Like with Mars in the 10th, you have to show your teeth. You have to stand your ground. That's what Mars does. Another scenario is, what is your big question for Virgo ascendants when it comes to their career? What is your competitive advantage? What is your edge when it comes to your career? Because you need, anything has competition in business, and all kinds of things have a lot of competition. So what is your competitive advantage? What do you have that nobody else has? What you can do better, more efficient, smarter? Gemini is very smart and efficient sign. What can you faster? That's what can you do better than anybody else in your career to stand out? There's a big supermodel that she has. She was the biggest model, one of the biggest models, I think. Yeah, pretty much top in her career at the time, and she had Mars in the 10th house. And people with Mars in the 10th house, gains directional strength. So that's a very powerful place to be in. So Mars likes to be there, right? So it's a time to really fight in your career, to really stand out in your career, to really fix the problems that you need to be. Eighth house is Mars was the 8th house, and it will be going retrograde. So it will be everything that is not working will be broken down, and you have to fix to go ahead and fix with logic. Mars is logic, so you have to go ahead and fix with logic. And it's a very productive time, a time to be productive, to get out there and go fight for what it's yours, to go after your goals. You might be going after your goals with a lot of hunger, with a lot of energy, fighter energy. People say, oh, Mars retrograde loses our energy, and it's not really, because it's closer to Earth, so it's actually way stronger, it's way in your face. So you really might feel that, I need to go, I need to do this. And it's in the masculine side of Gemini, so it's not the best sign for Mars to be in. Mars in Gemini can get a little bit too lost with all the ideas. So I would highly recommend for Virgo ascendants to not be dispersed, because Gemini is a very dispersed and sign, and Mars can be kind of the warrior that doesn't know which battle to fight, And that might be happening in your career space. So no, pick your battles wisely. That's the thing. Pick your battles wisely and pick one competitive advantage that will set you apart from the rest, that will make you very valuable and make you stand out in your workplace. So that's what I would like to close it with. I hope you got a lot of value from it and have an amazing 2022. Bye bye.